Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today, for my last recipe before Christmas, I'm going to make some shortbread. I made this recipe a few weeks ago, but today it's going to be especially for Christmas because I'm going to add in the zest from some clementines. So give it that little Christmassy flavour because clementines are very popular around Christmas. So it's a very simple recipe, and one departure this time is that I'm going to use a flan tin instead of a cake tin, and this is slightly larger. This is a 9-inch 23 centimetre flan tin, and I have lined the bottom with parchment paper. That isn't necessary because this will stick, it's just that I want to protect the base when I slice it later. So I have that lined, and I have my oven preheating at 150 Celsius, that's 300 Fahrenheit, and that's ready. So we'll go on to the ingredients, and as before, for this I have 175 grams, which is 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of plain flour. That's based on scooping packed flour into a 250 milliliter cup. I have 175 grams of butter, which is at about room temperature. Mine has been out of the fridge for an hour. That's 12.5 tablespoons. I have 75 grams, 6 tablespoons of golden caster sugar. If you just have granulated sugar or ordinary caster sugar, that will work fine. Then I have 75 grams, which is half a cup of fine semolina. You could use ground rice if you don't have semolina, that would be fine as well. And then I have the zest from 3 clementines. So what I'm going to do to start with is put the semolina and the sugar and the zest into the flour, and I'm going to give that a mix around just to get that mixed in a little bit, so that, particularly so that the zest gets mixed throughout. And I also have available, if I want it, some cold water. I don't think I should need it, but if I do, to pull the dough together, then I will add a little bit of cold water, or you could actually use some of the juice from the clementines, I suppose. So with that mixed like that, I'm going to put it into the bowl of my little processor that goes with my immersion blender. Now you can do this by hand and rub the butter into the dry ingredients by hand, but it's so much quicker with this little machine. So then I'll put the butter in as well. And then I'm just going to process that until it forms fine breadcrumbs, and then I'll carry on going until it actually begins to clump together a little bit. So that's very quickly come together. Didn't take more than 30 or 40 seconds. So what I'm going to do, just for ease, I'm going to tip that into a bowl. and then I'm going to use my hand to squeeze it to make sure that it will come together, and it does, into a nice soft dough. And that's worked perfectly without any liquid being added to it. So the next thing I'm going to do is to put it into my flan tin, and for that I'm just going to flatten it a little bit first. And I'm going to press it down in the flan tin until it reaches the edges, and then I will smooth the top with a spoon. Now, as with my previous recipe, you could do this in an 8-inch cake tin, and you would end up with thicker slices, but still very, very nice. So with that fairly roughly spread, I'm going to smooth that until it's level all over. And with that, like that, it's fairly smooth. That's good enough. I'm going to take a fork and I'm going to prick all over the surface with a fork. Just like that, and I'm going to put that into the oven, and I'm going to bake it for between an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. If you do it in the 8-inch cake tin and you have the thicker shortbread, then it will take slightly longer, but I think an hour would probably be good enough for this. I just want to keep an eye on it and check as the outside edge begins to colour. That will indicate that it's just about done. So then I'll take it out and I'll come back and show you what we do next. So I baked the shortbread for 1 hour, and I've taken it out and I've allowed it to cool just for a few minutes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a knife and I'm going to divide it into 12 equally sized pieces. Just like that, and then I'm going to leave that. I'll put it on a wire rack in the tin and leave it to cool completely, and when it's cooled completely I'll come back and show you what it looks like separated, and we'll have a taste. So I let the Clementine shortbread cool down completely after we cut it into the shapes, and this is what it looks like now. I've actually eaten one piece just to test it, but I'll have another taste of it, of this piece here. It's got that lovely buttery shortbread flavour, but also with the flavour of the clementine coming through as well. It's really very, very good indeed, and it's nice and crumbly. I actually baked this particular one for an hour. I could have left it another 5-10 minutes. It wouldn't have hurt it, I don't think, but it had coloured nicely. So an hour is certainly long enough at this size. If you were to bake it in the smaller tin, an hour and 15 minutes would probably be better. So that's going to be it for this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below the video and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for this recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well, and I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking and happy Christmas.